Hi,
Hello.
Tonya. How are you?
I'm very well. How are you doing?
Good, thank you. Good, good. It's no, I haven't done one of these in a day before, so it's actually quite nice. It's a bit bright outside.
I
Um,
know, and it is, isn't it lovely that the evenings are getting much brighter and longer? Um,
Absolutely.
but
Yeah,
yes, no,
definitely.
absolutely right. It's nice to do it during the day. I sometimes find as the day goes on and it gets late into the evening, I become so tired.
I
And then
know.
some, I sometimes can't understand how some women come alive at nighttime.
Yeah, I know it's like
So
night owls, right? Whereas I used to be like that, but more recently I've started to get up early and
yeah.
get to bed early. And I think that might just be lockdown. I think when everything opens up again and when we're back to crawling the streets at night, when everything's open. So I am looking forward to that as well. So a bit of
Yeah,
balance, I think, is
I know.
key. Um,
Absolutely.
yeah,
Totally. No, absolutely. I agree with you. I just find it at the moment, I'm going to bed early. I was going to bed really late for a long time. And then I was really struggling through the day. But I'm now trying, like you, to go to bed early, get up early. My
yeah.
idea would be that I would exercise before I go to the office. And
Okay.
my daughters, my youngest two are twins, and they laugh at me because they are saying, yeah, it didn't last very long, did it? Getting up and doing your exercise. But
Yeah.
it's always what I plan to do anyway.
But what time would you get up then? Would you get up like 6 o'clock in the morning or?
Yeah, well, I actually wake normally anyhow. So it's actually at 6 o'clock I will wake normally. But it depends on how good a night of sleep I've had. If I've had a good night's sleep, I will be able to get up and get on my way. Otherwise, I start doing emails and stuff before I even get ready, which is probably the worst thing to do. I
Yeah.
like to get ready, get up, get exercise, get ready, and then go to the office and be have everything done. But it never works out that way.
No, it's not. I think every day is different. I think just being able to embrace the fact that every day is probably going to be different and just roll with it. I think that's just the key for the
Yeah,
next. I think it's just going to ride through for the next few months as
absolutely.
well. But thank you so much for joining me today. It's so nice to actually have you and have you here to speak with. And thank you to everybody that has joined. Do please ask any questions, request to join if you feel like it. You can speak to Tonya directly. For those that don't know, I'll tell you a bit about Tonya and then I'll let her do her own introduction. Um, Tonya started her own perfume house recently, which has got a really lovely ethos behind it. How long ago did you start that, Tonya?
Okay, so it is, we've just passed our second birthday, which
Okay,
is, when you look at it that way, it feels we are very young. We are very young. But
yeah,
actually, for me working at it, it was 5 years prior to that, that I actually then decided I wanted to launch a brand and move into this. So yeah, so really the website went live on October 2018. So it's really not
right.
that long.
Right, but you had the idea for a long time prior to actually launching
Yeah,
this.
well, yeah. So it was about 5 years prior to that I went on the journey. So yeah, I'll share a wee bit about that with you.
Yeah, okay. Tell us a bit then about what you did before
Yeah.
your idea of stories came about.
So I'm mum to four kids. I have two boys, which are 24 and 18, and I
Yeah.
have twin girls that are 14. So took the choice to be a full-time mum. So I was a full-time stay-at-home mum right up until I started this journey into the
Oh
perfume
wow.
world. So I did work prior to the kids, and I worked as a PA, and I worked in sort of medical, hospital, doctor surgeries, and I moved on into different areas and worked in a bank for a little while. But it was literally just before the kids came, and
Right.
then I really just took the decision that I wanted to be a stay-at-home mum with them. And it was only really when the girls got up a little bit. So having twins, it's very difficult, and it's just was a whole new realm really, because obviously everything's happening double, and they just started to get to the age where I felt I really wanted to do something for
Hmm.
myself.
Right.
And a lot of stay-at-home mums will understand this.
Yeah.
It is a job. It's not, it's not sitting there, watching morning TV. It's hard work. So
Absolutely.
actually, when I decided to go and do something for myself, it was actually a hobby that I
Right.
was looking for, and wanting to look at learning something for myself. It's something that really interested me. And that's how I then ended up doing what I do.
Right. Okay. Wow. Because I think it's something that, I mean, a lot of people feel uncomfortable talking about it. That they chose to stay at home with the kids, and they see that as it's almost not warranted enough, because people think. I mean, I don't think I've ever said, you know, like I'm a housewife or a homemaker or a stay-at-home mom or anything, because I just felt it wasn't validated enough. It's not. It doesn't sound important enough, but yet it's probably the hardest job in
Yeah.
the world. So I think when you say that you started your business after you know, a long time of being a stay-at-home mom, where did you get that confidence? Where did that, you know, that kind of motivation and confidence and inspiration come from, really, to do that?
Yeah. So, well, I'd just go back to being a stay-at-home mum. I
Yeah.
honestly think it was a huge decision because I, I didn't have a career path set out that like I didn't want to become a doctor. I didn't want to there wasn't a specific career that I wanted to go down. I ended
Right.
up doing PA work and I absolutely loved it. And I must admit, I think I was pretty good at it. And it has helped me actually today with the side of business that I'm doing. So when I
Right.
do, as you know, a founder, you do everything. I mean, you do accounts, you do all the admin, there's so many stuff that you do. So it
Yeah.
has actually taught me, the strict regime of admin. But yeah, so what actually, share you a little bit of the story then of what happened. I decided to be stay-at-home mum. I then decided I wanted to go and look to do a hobby.
Right.
Fragrance for me was something I always really connected me to my past and actually connected me to people that I had never met before. So one being my grandmother, I had sadly never met her and she had died before I was born.
Right.
And but I always felt I knew her, and I grew up feeling that I knew her because she was always felt to be part of my life. But I knew what fragrance that she used to wear.
Right.
She was an entrepreneur. She in Northern Ireland in the days that women didn't work, she worked and she was a businesswoman. And I remember my mum used to keep her lovely, at the time fur was acceptable, fur coats and beautiful jewelry. And I used to play with it and spray her perfume. And hindsight is a wonderful thing because I didn't know at the time, but it was later on that I realized the connection I had with my grandmother was very, very strong, but I had never met her physically.
Right.
So I knew luxury beauty, fragrance, anything in that area was always something I've always loved. I've loved fashion, always, was very much intrigued by beauty and fragrance. So I thought I want to go to Grasse, which is the fragrance hub of Europe, really the world at one time, but definitely Europe. It's and I thought I'm just going to phone some perfumers. I'm going to phone some perfumeries, and I want to just ask them, could I come spend some time with you and learn a little bit about the fragrance world? Now, I was 45 at this stage, so I didn't want to go back to university. I didn't want to start studying something new. It wasn't really a strong point, to be fair, in my life, before, so I wasn't going to do it again. And I decided that I went to Grasse and I met different perfume houses. Mm-hmm. I met different private perfumers. And actually one of the oldest perfumers in the world, the perfume houses, said to me, yeah, we would love to have you come and spend some time with our perfumer. So off I went and I spent some time with them in their laboratory, learning about the fragrance families, learning how to blend. And the whole idea was that I was going to go and start my own fragrance for myself. So I would have my own bespoke fragrance and I would just wear it for myself. Mm-hmm. But actually what happened to me when I was there was so significant that it gave me an absolute passion to start my own fragrance brand. And what happened there was I was connected to memories that I had forgotten when I was a child. So I had trauma in my life when I was around the age of 12. Mm-hmm. I grew up also in Northern Ireland, which at that time there was troubles, and I had been subjected to that as well as a young child. So I, as a child, had blocked out a lot of these memories prior to the trauma. Mm-hmm. And even though I chose in later years to go through the hard part of counselling and really going in after the root of the trauma, which was really, really successful. And I managed to remove it. And I actually went on to talk to young adults about the effects of trauma in your life. Okay. So I shared my story very openly, and it never affected me anymore. But I still didn't have any memory prior to that trauma. So that changed when I was in Grasse in the south of France, when I was working with perfume. It actually had the fragrance had the power and the ability to actually connect me to those memories that I'd forgotten. So I ended up creating 2 fragrances in Grasse at that time. And it was absolutely wonderful because it was very therapeutic for me. And if I can say, very healing, because it actually really connected me to who I was, you know. And I had been silenced as a woman for many, many years. And I had found my voice after I'd gone through trauma, or through the counselling after the trauma. But this was the final part for me. It was like the final connection of my story, that I actually had found something and a medium for me to express myself in telling my story, and in the hope that other people would connect to their story and know that their stories are powerful and that their stories should be told. And so I left Grasse at that very moment that I created the bespoke fragrances for myself. And I decided on the way home, I want to create a fragrance brand. I want to launch a brand that will teach people about the scientific proof that actually our sense of smell is the strongest connected to our memory bank. I wanted to teach people how do they connect to their own story through my story and through my fragrances. So it's a little bit like a gift. I give people the gift of my story, my fragrances, in the hope that they would just stop and think, what does that mean to me? Or how do I feel? How does it make me feel? So that's a little bit of the background of how it started. You know, and it just gave me an absolute passion to go forth. I actually came back home to Northern Ireland. I decided, if I'm going to make this work, I need to go to London, and I need to, you know, explain to people what I want to do, see if there was any doors opened. And to me, there was. It was absolutely a very special time in my life, because it actually made me believe in the strengths of, one, the fragrances, but also the stories behind them actually were making people stop and think, you know, what does my sense of smell mean to me? Or what is it I smell every day? Or when I smell a fragrance, what is it I'm smelling? So I ended up going to London, and I met some wonderful people who believed in everything I was doing. And from there, I actually was introduced to person after person who helped me on my journey. And I was entering an industry that was the most oversaturated of all beauty. You know, I was going into competition with the likes of Byredo and the Labo and all these really well-established fragrance houses. And, you know, I just felt when I went to London and doors opened and I got the right people around me, and I had people surround me who knew the industry, knew the beauty industry, maybe not necessarily fragrance, but and these were the people that actually, I just was like a sponge. I wanted to learn how to do it. I had no idea how to price a product. I had no idea how to get it to present it to a retailer. So so that was actually about 4 to 5 years ago that journey began.
And when you asked to go into that fragrance manufacturing house to get some experience, you didn't feel intimidated by the brand name that they had behind them? You just kind of sent them an email and you were like, this is something I want to do, and I'm just gonna, you know. I
did, and I hadn't, and I'm a little bit bold like that anyhow. I think actually after when I honestly believe what happened to me as a child, that I've been able to turn that around and use something that was bad and really use it for good. Because if it was in my 20s to do this, I wouldn't have had the voice, because I had been silenced for many years. But once I had received that, removing the root of the trauma, I did find my voice, and I felt if I loved something and passionate about it, I would just, put myself out there to experience it. So when I went to Grasse and met quite a few perfumers, you know, a lot of want a brief. They want you to go, well, what do you want me to put in it?
Yes.
But I was saying, no, I want to create it.
Right.
And I want to put my story in it. I just want you to take, you know, teach me how to blend, but also take the fragrances and balance them really well at the end.
Right.
So that's what I did. I do work with a perfumer. I am not a perfumer, and I've never claimed that I am, but I am self-taught, and I do everything I put into my fragrances is 100% from my own experience and my own what I want to use. And what my perfumer does is she takes it and she does the wonderful job of bringing the balance to it so that they all smell it the right way. They cut the notes come out at the right time. She will work through the length of time it lasts on your skin. So she is the expert behind it, and
right.
I do the complete creative to it. So,
okay, you said that you had to come to London in order to meet the relevant people to push your brand through. I mean, how did you build that network? How did you actually, you know, get your foot in the door? Because we all know the importance of a support network nowadays to be able to build your brand and build your business. And I think everyone realizes how important it is. So how did that start for you? Did you already have a lot of contacts in the industry, or?
No, none at all. I did not have one contact. I honestly didn't. I went to London, and when I look back at it, I actually go, how did I do that? Or I actually phoned a few different PR companies, was my first port of call. And I looked up to which was the best beauty, fashion. And I went to see one day I took about 4 or 5 different PR companies, and I went to different ones and I presented the brand. Now, at that time, I didn't have my packaging. I only had the juice in a little brown bottle. I didn't have anything aesthetic for them to look at. And you know, I think apart from one of my meetings, I did feel very stupid, and I thought, oh, I'm not prepared. But thankfully, that was the last one in the day. But I met this particular PR company, and they said to me, this is amazing. You know, I have a person you need to speak to. And they introduced me to somebody, and then I would have met that person and worked with them for a little time. And then she introduced me to somebody else. So the best thing that what I did then was invest in a consultant. And I worked with a fabulous girl who is a consultant who has worked in the beauty industry for many, many years. And she was honestly the best investment I made. No, she was able to be realistic with me. She was able to warn me what I was entering and the industry. So that was, I had no strategy at this stage whatsoever. And you're probably very well aware of the phrase that says, fake it until you make it. When I look back, I think, was I actually just faking all that? Because I honestly had no idea what I was doing. And some of the questions I had to ask people in the industry, I'm sure they looked at me and went, what? What are we dealing with?
Yeah.
But I have 2 years now trading. I honestly don't know it all, but I do know how to launch your own brand now. So I didn't have a network of people, just going back to what you were asking. I didn't have any one person in the industry that I knew that could actually open the doors. I also coming from a very small place, Northern Ireland, where you can go north to south and you will meet somebody you know, because we're so small here. When I went to London, I probably felt I had an excitement, but I felt a little bit overwhelmed because I thought, are people going to look at me and go, you know, are these doors just going to be shut in my face? But actually, I find that London was the people I have met have been very open. I cannot say that there's one person in the industry that I've met, even my competitors, that have not been open to helping me in some way.
So you've had quite a positive experience then.
Totally.
It's not been a competitive kind of, you know, like a bitchy experience as such. You've approached people, you've contacted them, you've asked for help, and they've given it to you, right? They've actually been open and welcoming.
Yeah, and I suppose I kind of shield myself from people. I genuinely know people that I'm attracted to and people that I know that I will get on with. And I did genuinely get probably a feeling straight off if we're going, you know, I did have a few not bad experiences, but it took me a while to find the right PR company, for example. It took me the right time to find a few people, the right people to work with the brand, but there was no bitchiness or there was no backstabbing or nastiness that I experienced. And I do tend to take people for face value. But I don't get hurt if it's not what I'm looking for. So I'm quite resilient. So I'm easy enough to move on and say thank you for your help. But I didn't find bitchiness, and I know it is an industry that it's so oversaturated and so huge. But I have found the right people that I can cocoon myself in. And I do think if you find those people from early on, I don't mean right from the outset, I mean even the first year of building the brand. If you find those right people who love you, who want the best for you, and love the brand, and I do believe that people need to really love the brand. You know, it's not just about you employing them for a time. You know, it's actually about they need to really believe in what you're doing.
Yeah, they need to be invested in what you're doing, and emotionally and in the business as well. So you started 5 years ago. So like this was after you've your kids must have been, were they about over 12, 13 by then?
Well, the girls weren't actually. They just turned 14, so they were just. Yeah. So, and the thing is, I have my husband. He has his own business as well, and he totally a completely different cat. You know, he's in the heating and plumbing and bathroom business, so he's really, really busy. Because I was the stay-at-home mum as well, it was like, oh my gosh, what are we going to do? Because all of a sudden I'm getting up at 4 a.m. to get a red-eye flight, to London. And it was a lot of juggling, but I had a very understanding husband who came home, worked from home when he could. But I found I was flying in really early in the morning somewhere and coming back really late at night. And to be honest, I think if one thing that lockdown has proven to me is I was shattered. I was really, really tired, and I was flying, I'm a completely 100% independent brand, and we have no investors or no any other.
That's what I was gonna ask you that. Do you think you started 5 years ago when you were around 45? Do you think one of the benefits of starting later is that you do have probably more funds, personal funds, that you can invest into your business? Was that a positive for you?
Yes, definitely. I think when you're younger and you haven't had that experience and that you're behind you or had that little bit of finance behind you, it would have been probably more difficult. But I do know, and I haven't actually gone down the route of investors yet. I do know that there will be a time that I want to scale the business up. I want to have, there's so much plans that I have for the business, and you can't just keep putting your own money into it. So what I do think is, like, when I've been sort of started to look into this, there are such support for younger women founders out there also, which is amazing. So I don't know whether age has given me the confidence, the boldness. I might not have believed in myself as much. But I definitely think there is a lot more help out there that I didn't even know of.
That you didn't know it existed, and that I guess, you've given yourself that push and just kind of, and you've done it now. And are you still traveling back and forth to London, or is that kind of calmed down?
Well, at the moment it's just calmed down because of COVID. Our flights are very, and retail has been closed as well. And I think it's showing us all that we can actually have meetings over Zoom very, very easily. And
I think when you need to adapt, is that everything's around you, isn't it, to kind of make it happen.
Absolutely. And it's actually being able to to realize that actually we don't need to be. I would have been flying into London, traveling to Manchester, and then maybe going to Newcastle where all our retailers are. And when you're a young brand, and still to this day, I only have one full-time staff member who works with me in the office, and I have another part-time girl, and the rest of the stuff I outsource. So I have to be in all these places. I have to be a trainer. I have to go in and check on the stock. You just have to do it all,
Yeah, the thing is that it's it must be so difficult trying to do it all, because you've got 4 kids. I mean, the elder 2 probably don't need your time as much, but you're still a mother to 4 kids, and they need your time. Your husband needs your time. You know, you've probably got your friends, and then you've got your business, which is in early days and is in need of a lot of attention right now. So it's probably such a struggle to balance it and juggle it all.
Yeah, no, it definitely is. And I suppose that's, as I said, that was a nice thing about, you know, being able to really restructure your day in the office, be at home for the kids, especially the youngest too. So yeah, no, it has been good, but I will go back to traveling again once everything opens up again. And I, you know, I look forward to doing that, because I love meeting people. I love actually being able to travel to London, and I think it's important that I continue to still do that. So I'm really looking forward to doing that again.
Because some businesses out there, you see the brand, but you don't really get to see the person behind the brand. You don't have any qualms about coming in front of your brand and letting people see who you are, what you believe in, what your ethos is, and what your, you know, what your vision is for your brand.
Yeah. No, absolutely. And that is one thing that I want to maintain. I actually think it's really important that people know what my values are. People know it, you know, the brand that I've created is such an emotional connection. It's an emotional brand to me. And it's very hard for somebody to, I have, you know, people that work with me have a great, you know, they can talk about the brand, but people want to see who is behind the brand, who is the face, what are her values, you know, what am I buying into? Because, you know, if somebody's buying a niche fragrance, they want to know what they're putting their money into. They want to know the stories. And one of the things I did right from the outset was actually do our online and our website very early. The reason behind that was I want to always have that connection direct to consumer, and I want to talk to my customer, and I want to be able for them to feel that they can contact me. And when somebody phones and they need something, I'm usually the one that phones them back, you know, and they're shocked. But I'm, you know, that's what I do want to have that. I want that to continue.
Yeah, I think that's lovely. You've got a great website. So is that where all your products are sold from right now, directly through the website? Or are you in some kind of stores at the moment as well?
Yeah, so we're direct to consumer from our website. And then we are in Harvey Nichols, in Manchester and Dublin. And then we are in 4 stores at Fenwick, which is from Newcastle, Bond Street, and then also in Canterbury and Tunbridge Wells. And then Fortnum and Mason also we launched not long before lockdown, which is it's so awful, because you know, all the retail stores are really like 1 minute they're open and then they're shutting, and it's so difficult for them all. But yeah, so we're there. We're in some beautiful boutiques as well. We're in a beautiful boutique called Oxygen Boutique, which is in London. And then we have some lovely ones scattered across Northern Ireland as well, which we just lovely high-end boutiques that, you know, that we will sit nicely with them. We've launched into Germany with Douglas, which is one of the biggest online luxury beauty, and that's across Europe. And then we're about to launch into Russia and Hong Kong, and we've launched into Israel as well.
So it is expanding really quickly, isn't it?
It is.
Yeah.
And you know, we've still got the same products that we had when we launched, and that has been due to COVID and Brexit, also to do with it being an independent brand. So I am growing organically and slowly. Probably not as quick as what I would like due to just all the disruption this past year. But, you know, in a sense, I've got to realize actually we're still launching with fabulous places. So they're still interested in small independent brands. And that has been a really great thing for me to see.
I think there's a huge push, isn't there, on supporting small businesses right now instead of the larger corporates. Because everybody, I think now when they're shopping, they want they want to feel connected to the brand, isn't it? They don't just want a big umbrella company that is selling millions of products and you're just another number. They want something a bit more niche, a bit more thought about. And I think that's what we get with Stories. When I looked at your website, the whole thing about fragrance and it connected to your memories is something that I've actually never thought about before in a perfume. You know, I do smell a perfume now and again and I think, oh, that reminds me of this. But I would never buy it thinking that reminds me of that. But then just to have that connection and understand that gives you such happiness as well,
Yeah,
doesn't it? Connecting to those
absolutely.
memories.
Yeah, I just see a comment there asking when we launch in Canada. I'm sorry, we have launched in Canada. We are in a beautiful boutique fragrance, a perfumery called Centrique. So if you go to our website, you'll actually see all the different stockists we have. So we are in Canada.
I think we've got another question. How did you budget in the early days of your business? I think it was.
Oh, you steal from one person to pay the other. That is honestly, every month you were looking and going, oh my goodness, are you going to have enough to do to cover? And honestly, we've been trading for 2 years, and what I've been told, it's 4 to 5 years before you really see profit.
Okay.
So it is very, very difficult. I put some of our own savings, and my husband and I put money. My husband supported me fabulously, but what we did was we put the money into this product, because you have to go, and the packaging, the bottling, everything is really expensive.
Mm-hmm.
And at the moment, one of the reasons that I will need to look to investors in the future is you want to scale the brand. And when you've a very small independent brand, you're working with very small quantities. So we're still working with minimum quantities per bottle or per SKU. So that's hard, and you definitely want to be able to buy the larger amount of bottles, so that you have them, because that's going to be cheaper in the long run. So to be honest, budgeting, the budget, it just came from from own budget, our own money, and we had very little to put in. And then you're just hoping that people will start to bring you in, and it is a very, very expensive process.
Yeah, I can imagine. Hopefully it started paying off. I've got a question here. Did you have a mentor or some kind of guide that helped you through the early days in your business? Because I think that is something that generally women, just everybody, looks for when they are starting a business. They need somebody to help them through it, just to bounce ideas off, guide them through the process, tell them what's right from wrong even. So somebody in the same industry, or even in a different industry, that helped you.
Yeah.
With your early days.
Really, what it was a girl called Catherine that I was introduced probably just after I had started the bottling, getting my own packaging and everything ready. She's a consultant. I'd mentioned her earlier. She's been in the industry for a long time and worked in some of the beautiful high-end retailers. And she had gone out into consultancy work, and there is many of them around. And she has been, honestly, she's turned into a really good friend. She worked with me for about for the first probably year that we were trading, and maybe 6 months before we went to launch. And she was like a mentor, consultant, everything in one. She really was. And it was through her being introduced to people in the industry, really, that have become friends, and people that I know that I could phone and ask a question. And I think one of the things I learned was, don't be afraid to ask. Right. Because I think people think you think people expect you to know it all, and you don't. And I felt as if at the beginning, maybe I'm not experienced enough. And she was, she was the one who would tell me, you are, it's because it's your product and you love it and you believe in it and the story behind it. So I would have classed her as a mentor, and I still would today. She's turned into a friend, and ongoing friendship, and somebody that I could lift the phone. And through her, I have met quite a few people in the industry that I know or she would be able to say to me, oh, I know somebody you need to talk to, and will introduce me to them. So yeah, I think it is important to have that, and it's something I'm passionate about at the moment, because I really feel that we need to mentor, even though you don't need to be 15, 20 years in the industry to be able to mentor. Being able just to give people a little bit of advice of the hurdles that you had to go over, I think is amazing. It's good. Yeah. So it's something that I think, we should be more open to sharing our experiences with each other and, helping each other along. So it happened for me, so I like to do it for others.
Yeah, that's good to know. Do you think that because of you know, I say age, but you look great and you are young as any of us are. But do you think because you were slightly older when you did start your business in comparison to the entrepreneurs out there these days, were you taken more seriously, or do you feel it didn't make a difference if you had done the same thing 10 years, 15 years prior?
I'm honestly not too sure. Again, I suppose it's probably I felt more confident and I felt really sure of what I wanted to achieve. And I think maturity, I mean, I've just turned 50. So, and I can look back and I can see the mistakes I even made in the last 5 years. But what I think it's probably just the maturity of knowing what you want.
Yeah.
I think if you're younger and you definitely have something that you know is you're passionate about, something you know where you want to go is really, really important because the people I've talked to, the feedback I've got from them is that it's a fresh breath air for them, that I know where I want to go, I know what I want to achieve. I just don't know how to get there, and that's okay.
And
So
as we get older, I do think that some women do find that there is a certain level of pressure to figure out what it is what your passion is, where your strengths lie, what it is you want to do with the next 20, 30 years of your life. What would you say to those women that haven't yet kicked off their business journey, but it's kind of sitting there in the background and they just haven't pushed it through yet?
I would say definitely don't wait because I think the most of us wait because we think that we're not qualified enough to do something. And I know as actually we get older, we do get confidence, but there's a lot of that. We then compare ourselves to the younger generation that's coming up, and they've so much more to offer, and maybe some of them haven't married yet, and maybe some of them are really wanting to focus on their career. So of course there is that. But I actually honestly believe if you have a passion about what you want to do, you need to start to talk to people and you need to reach out to people. And one of the things somebody said to me was, just hang out with the people that you want to be. And it is really, really true. If you become what the people that you hang around with, we do become more. And I really feel just hang out with people, reach out to people. I've had people, through other lives and podcasts that I've done have reached out to me because they're going, oh my gosh, you've given me so much hope to do this. And I'm happy to take emails. I'm happy to talk to people. I'm happy. And that's the way I think it should be. We all need to just reach out and sit and just hang out with the people that you want to learn from. And so I always believe also if your first door is a no, don't take that. Just go to the next door. Don't the no's become your biggest strength, I believe. So if you've had a few no's,
it's just being resilient, isn't it? Just if you believe in something, you've just got to keep pushing it. And I think you did. That's exactly what you did when you pushed it. You got your foot in the door. You got the experience and the exposure that you needed, and you've done it. But somebody said it's so intimidating. Yeah, it is. It is really intimidating, I think, because you're almost like a small fish in the ocean, and there's so many people that are doing it already and that are doing it probably better than you, or they've started out well before you, or they've got a better group of people around you. But I think everyone's got their unique perspective in what they feel are their strengths, and just kind of push through with that as you did. I mean, you've used your years of experience. Even when you were a PA, you said that your admin skills are excellent and you have just kept on top of the admin for your business, so you know the ins and outs of it. So it's not like you say you outsource some of it, but what is that, like just the PR and the marketing you outsource and you just look after?
No, so one of the, as I said, I had no idea of what went in behind the brand. So I outsourced, we've just actually brought it in-house lately, but marketing. So I had a marketing consultant. And she would have worked maybe one day a month and really helped me with the strategy. And because really you don't know what way you're meant to market your you know what you want, but how do you get that across? So and again, there's been a friendship has come from that, and I've learned so much from her, and I brought it in-house, and we do it in-house now. But so I've outsourced that. PR, yes, we have a PR based in London. Social media, I have a social media girl. Now we do all the engagement ourselves. Most people who talk talk to myself or the girls in the office, if they, you know, on social media. So you do get directly to the people behind the brand. But then
social media is an important tool, isn't it? But something that I think that, you know, even like at my age, I can't get my head around it sometimes. I mean, I had to really read watch a tutorial on how to do an Insta Live, because I know that there are so many different aspects of it, and I just didn't want to get it wrong. So I think social media is a big push factor, isn't it, in getting your brand, getting yourself out there.
Yeah, so it's been a huge learning. Totally, and it's been such a learning curve for us. So I have somebody who does the social media, as in she posts all, you know, daily for us. I write the captions myself, so every voice that comes from the brand is my own voice, and I think that's really important if it's your own brand. So every aspect is my voice coming through. But you know, there's also then the whole area of Facebook ads as well. You know, where do you start there? So I think,
and then you can add LinkedIn on that if you want to.
Oh my God, yeah. But we have found actually for what works for other brands, because we're not a brand that discounts a lot or at all, and because we're a high-end fragrance brand, we do lovely bundles and things, but it's some areas just don't work for a fragrance brand the way they do with a fashion brand. So there's been a lot of trial and error, and I suppose having a marketing consultant who knows what they're doing can analyze what works and what doesn't. And as a founder of a brand, you can't do everything. Something's going to drop, and you need to be able, you know, the whole idea would be great to have everything in house and we're all running it, you know, one day hopefully that will happen, but you do need to trust people to come in and give you advice.
Yeah, definitely.
So,
I think we've got somebody asking me, how do you approach stores like Phoenix? So if you've got a product business, you know.
So that is one thing I think you need to be prepared for, because we've had a lot of doors said no. We've had a lot of people said no. We've had people we've approached a year ago said no, and now they're saying yes, and they want to see the brand. So and plus, because we're still fairly small, and because of COVID, there's an absolute, the powerhouses are the ones people want. They want people that makes you money, and you need to really just, you know, we were able to phone, get an appointment, you go, you present your brand to the buyer, usually the senior buyer, and you get told yes or no quite abruptly. Quite abruptly and quite soon. But our first door was Harvey Nichols. We launched into Harvey Nichols within the first year of launching, and that in itself is amazing. Harvey Nichols are fabulous because they give small brands a place to grow and thrive. And we've been hugely grateful that they opened doors for us. But you're sitting in with such a small brand in with all these massive brands that have got distributors behind them, and then you have to think of putting staff in these, because it's up to you to sell the product when you're in these doors. So Fennec is amazing as well, because we're in 4 of their doors, but again you have to go and present the brand, and it's what they're looking for at that time. So if you get a no, it's not necessarily that they don't like your product. It's maybe just not what they're looking for that time.
Maybe they're having a bad day and they're just...
Exactly. So, and Fortnum & Mason, to be in one of the oldest perfume, oh my goodness, that building alone is just amazing. And, you know, but you have to always be creating things new for them, and you have to be getting the noise indoors, because, you know, you want people to go in and buy. So, well, it is an expensive process, because especially in the likes of central London, you have to put staff in there to cover if you're going to make sales. So it is an expensive process, but in my mind was also that I would create the website at the same time, so that I still would have a voice in the middle of all the noise, you know. So it's really just been, again, bold. You have to reach out, you have to find the buyer.
And the thing is, we're lucky that we live in a world where there aren't just the 4 powerhouses. We've got so many smaller boutiques out there, and there are, you know, there's Selfridges, John Lewis, Harrods. There are so many department stores as well that, you know, if you really believe in your brand, somebody's going to see that one day, and they're going to help you push it through and get it onto the shop floors if selling is what you want to do.
Yeah, totally. And for me, I always I wanted to have the brand placed in very strategic places. I never want the brand to be, you know, I know everybody wants their brand to grow and they want to make money and profit and everything else. And that, of course, I want that to happen also. But I don't want to oversaturate the industry. I still want it to be very unique, and I want people to buy it and love it and enjoy it. But I don't want it to be in every store. I want it to have a presence. Yeah. And I want to have a presence in major cities, and I do want to have, you know, to be in these wonderful retail places. But there are so many other options, and you know, there's some beautiful boutiques who love to do partnerships with maybe perfume or beauty brands, you know, maybe fashion houses. So I think it's being very creative in what is your plan and where do you want to be, and don't always think.
So what would you say, I'm conscious of time, what would you say are your business goals for Stories for the next, say, 1 year, and then let's say 5 years?
Yeah, so I definitely, my whole heart is growing the perfume. I've already created about 3 or 4 new fragrances, but it's obviously getting it to market. Creating the fragrances is easy for me. It's getting them bottled and made and created.
How many do you have, Tonya?
We've only got the 2 fragrances. We hope to launch number 3 this year. And we're also moving into candles. So the whole idea is that I would have a presence in every major city, but it still would be very exclusive to people.
Yeah, great. And then 5 years, is that?
5 years, I would love to have our own standalone stores in Paris, London. I just think, to me, if I could have that, I would be a happy woman.
Yeah, you know, I think it's so important to have those clear business goals, isn't it? Just to have your 1 year, 5 year, 10-year milestones that you are aiming towards. And when you've achieved them, to actually, you know, take a look at it and take a look at your business and think, you know what, this is what I wanted 5 years ago, and I've done it. And, you know, it's easy if I can do it, you know, anybody can, because I think your hard work and your dedication to your belief in your brand has really kind of shone through in all of this with Stories. And I think that's what's really lovely to see in a small business that's hopefully not going to be so small so
I
soon.
I know. Oh, thank you.
Yeah, somebody saying, do you have a minimum order for wholesale?
Yes. Well, what we do is we do it. It's very unique to retail, size of retail, whether it's a boutique or whether it is a large retail. So our minimum orders depend. It can change. You know, we love people to bring in the whole range, because not only do I do perfumes, I do hand and body as well. And I created that to be a standalone product as well.
Is that a cream?
Yeah, so the lotions, I'll just show you. So the lotions I do them in 2 different sizes. So it's a wash and a lotion. And I really spent a lot of time with the chemist working with these. They're paraben free, they're SLS free. They aren't tested on animals. They're slightly scented with our bespoke fragrances, but it actually is transforming. We've won awards with them, and they transform your skin. So we have different minimum order quantities for the body range and for the perfumes. But actually, because of the whole layering, you know, if we had more time, I could go into so much more. But there is, you know, the layering aspect of getting your fragrance to last longer.
That's right, isn't it?
Yeah.
Well, what is that? Talk us through that then. Layering, is that the shower gel, the cream?
Well, that's there's 2 different types of layering. Layering can happen in forms of people like to layer their fragrances. So that is, they actually put 2 or 3, 4 or 5 different fragrances on at once. In the Middle East, they wear up to 5 to 7 fragrances at a time. So it just depends on, and obviously as well, probably where you're from. But for layering, for me, what it is, a lot of people would have said to me, why does my fragrance not last? And it's down to a couple of different reasons. One's your skin type. If you have very dry skin, it won't last on your skin as much. So I wanted to create like a base layer, so that when you spray your fragrances, the molecules in the fragrance attaches to the cream and the lotion on your skin, and it lasts a lot longer. The other reason that it doesn't last on your skin long is really the percentage of the oil that is in the fragrances. So if you have, ours are a 15%, 16% fragrance of oil, which is an eau de parfum. an eau de toilette or a cologne won't last as long on your skin, and you will have to keep respraying. So the stronger strengths of the perfume, it'll last longer, and obviously the ingredients in it. So the reason I created the wash and the lotion is the layering process in preparing your skin for the molecules to cling to your skin, and it will last longer.
Yeah, that's very helpful actually, because we do, I mean, so many of us wonder, oh, you know, I sprayed it this morning and you can kind of still smell it a little bit, but it's not enough. You kind of want to smell your own perfume through the day. And it's not for anybody else really, it's because you want to feel like that this is personal to you. Yeah. And you want to be able to enjoy it for the day.
I know, but one of the things is, though, that when you're used to wearing one perfume over and over, your nose becomes sensitized or desensitized to it. So you won't smell your fragrance as much, but people will still be smelling. If it's a good quality fragrance, you should be smelling it, right? If you spray it in the morning, you should be able to smell it, or other people smell it throughout the evening. So I literally, you know, we do respray. I love smelling perfume off myself, but actually your nose is probably used to what you're wearing, but other people will still smell it.
Other people can smell it. We just had a comment there that is something that has been so encouraging and inspiring. So many women find themselves after having children or later in life. Absolutely, I think there's no rush to find yourself, to find your passion. I think it'll just come in time, and when it does come, you've just got to grab it with both hands and just roll with it, I think.
Absolutely.
So, yeah, and without any pressure as well. I think pressure sometimes sits in the back of your mind, and you feel, you know, that you need to do it now, you need to do it now. But, you know, you waited and you're doing so well, and it's so lovely to see that. So thank you so much for your time today, Tonya.
Thank you so much for having me.
No, not at all. It's been so nice speaking to you, and we'll definitely keep in touch.
Yes.
And I'm going to go online and pick one of the 2 fragrances now. And
absolutely lovely to talk to you.
Thank you. You take care.
Bye-bye.
Thank you so much for joining, everyone. Thank you so much. Your support's always appreciated. Thank you both. Thanks, Sonali.